questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Lockdowns and mandates, we're seeing things change very quickly, and rightly so. Dr. Tam has said that vaccine mandates should be reevaluated, and today the chair of the Quebec Liberal Caucus clearly and strongly stated it's time to end the divisiveness and the politicization and end the mandates. We Conservatives could not agree more. This cannot be a slow and dragged-out process simply because of the Prime Minister's ego, pride, or denial. Canadians are too tired. Canadians need hope. So will the Prime Minister follow the science, follow the evidence, and the restrictions and the mandates?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, everyone is sick and tired of lockdowns, of the measures we have to do, of the sacrifices we've had to make. But Canadians have continued to step up over the past 2 years, been there for each other, been there to get vaccinated. And that's the unity we've seen across the country of people who've been there for their neighbours, who've been there for their frontline health workers. That's what Canadians are going to continue to do. That's how we get through and back to the things we love. We're going to continue to follow the science. We're going to continue to have Canadians' backs. We're going to continue to protect people's lives.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, countries like Ireland, Sweden, Norway, Israel, Czech Republic, the UK, Spain, Denmark, they're all removing restrictions and mandates, and they're all countries that have a lower vaccine rate than Canada. Here in Canada, though, we have a Prime Minister who refuses to lead and instead is being divisive. I have to agree with the MP for Louis Hébert when he says, people don't know where public health ends and politics begins. Canadians want their lives back. So again, I ask the Prime Minister, will he follow the evidence? Will he follow the science and the mandates and the restrictions quickly?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, every step of the way, we have had Canadians' backs by following the science, by working closely with
The order. Now, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition asked a question, and she's trying to hear, but she can't hear it above all the heckling and shouting that's going on. So I'm going to ask everyone to just keep it down so she can hear the answer coming from the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the beginning of this pandemic, we have followed science, we have had Canadians' backs, and we've actually seen a less severe impact on lives, on livelihoods, and our economy than many other countries, including the ones that the Leader of the Opposition named. We will continue to follow the science. We will continue to lean on each other as Canadians as we make it through this pandemic. We know that it's tiring, we know it's exhausting, but we also know that having each other's backs is the way through this pandemic.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, the Prime Minister has politicized the pandemic and been divisive, and even his own members are seeing it. Now, countries around the world are opening up, and even here in Canada, provinces are opening up. They're following the science and the evidence, whether it's Dr. Henry in BC, Dr. Moore in Ontario. They all agree we have to learn to live with COVID. Conservatives believe that living with COVID means opening up and ending the mandates, and I believe there are some Liberals who believe the same thing. So will the Prime Minister follow the science and the lockdowns and let Canada once again be the true North, strong and free?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely pleased to hear the Conservatives finally talking about following science, because that's something that they have fallen down on throughout this pandemic, whether it was not choosing to get vaccinated, whether it's continuing to debate over the effectiveness of public health measures. Fortunately, we've been working with provincial premiers right across the country to bring in the kinds of restrictions, the kinds of mandates that have saved Canadians' lives. Unfortunately, we see Conservatives continuing to both call an end to the protests from in here and support them out there. They need to be more responsible leaders to get through this and to play less politics.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, the truth came out this morning. I would like to cite the member for Louis Hébert. and the chair of the Quebec Liberal Caucus. He regrets to see that the tone of his leader has changed since the campaign. He used to be trying to bring people together, but now he has made the choice to stigmatize and divide people. Did the Prime Minister make that decision himself to divide the population so he could win the election? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government's pandemic decisions were made to save lives. And now, we see that Canadians got vaccinated at record levels. We lead the world in vaccination rates because Canadians know that being there for each other is the best way to get through this pandemic. I understand that people are frustrated. We want to be done with this, and the way to do that is to follow science and not play political games like the Conservative Party unfortunately does. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is not answering my question. One of his own MPs, the member for Louis-Hébert, is asking for vaccine mandates to be ended. He believes that his government's decisions do not rest on enough scientific data. He was very clear. Someone in this government deliberately decided to adopt a divisive and stigmatizing approach. Was that decision to politicize the COVID-19 crisis for partisan purposes? Was that decision taken by the Prime Minister himself, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I entirely disagree with my colleague. This government's decisions were decisions made to keep people safe, to be able to get through this pandemic. With vaccine mandates, which in fact are enabling us to have fewer restrictions, because they let us get back to doing the things we love once we're vaccinated. Unfortunately, the Conservatives have been fighting that from the beginning, but we are here to encourage vaccination, to ensure that we can get through this pandemic, because we are all sick of it. We all want to be done with it, but the way to do that is by following